This is KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, radio for people, not for profit. Welcome to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Each week, we explore how your library is more than books. The library is knowledge, technology, and inspiration for our community. Hi there, listeners. Welcome. In honor of Earth Day, which was this past Sunday, we have Librarian Amy Mullin here at the Co-op studio to talk to us about how we can save gas, save time, save physical waste if we use electronic resources. And at the library, we call those the virtual library because it's all online. And but before we kind of get into how green it is, we're going to just kind of lay the groundwork, define our terms, that kind of thing. So first of all, welcome back to the show, Amy.
Thanks for having me, Kanya. It's great to be here.
Yay. Yeah, we're happy to have you back. You came on when we were still streaming at 7 o'clock at night, and we've been doing the 2:30 show for a while now, and it's a lot of fun. We hope that folks are listening in their cars or at their workplaces or wherever they are.
Yeah, I hope so too. This should be good information for anyone who's tuning in.
Absolutely. So I guess tell us a little bit about the different types of resources that we refer to as the virtual library, and kind of demystify, explain what they are in layman's terms, if you can. Sure.
Well, you just said that it's basically anything that's online. So it's not a book, not a print magazine, anything like that. So I'm going to talk about different topics and formats of things that you can find in the virtual library. The most important thing, I think, for an Earth Day related topic is we have a lot of do-it-yourself, fix-it type resources. So you can fix your car, you can fix your lawnmower, you can do improvements in your house or fix things around your house. We have things for hobbies and crafts so that you can make things instead of buying things. You could fix appliances around your home, things like do-it-yourself legal forms. So we have a lot of things like that can really help people live a greener life, and it's all online. We also have eBooks and audiobooks that you can download and stream to a device or read or listen to on your computer. We've got a lot of streaming video that you can also watch on TV, e-music where you can stream or download albums. E-magazines, which I love. You can download them to your device, keep them forever, so you can get a whole nice back file. And we, with our e-magazines, we keep about 50,000 magazines a year out of the landfill.
Wow.
We're happy about that. We've also got e-learning. So if you want to learn a language, if you need to do test prep for all ages. And we also have live tutoring, and that's good for Earth Day. It can save you a drive across town or to your child's school. They can do their tutoring right there at home on their device. And then we also have the traditional article databases if you need to do research, especially in green or environmental topics. We've got hundreds of thousands of articles that can help you out.
Wow, that's so much amazing stuff all in one little package of virtual library. Goodness, that's awesome.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm like, okay, so we got ebooks, there's music, there's videos,
movies, TV shows, documentaries.
Wow. Magazines,
how-to videos. So if you're trying to start up a garden and you're not quite a green thumb, we've got how-to videos for some of mulching or something like that. So
awesome. Wow. Yeah, it's just so robust. There's so much to explore. I'm always amazed at how much there is in the virtual library. And it's one of those things that's like virtually unknown. Like a lot of folks haven't really dug in. They just go to the catalog and pick up physical books, which is also great. But and they are also green because they're being shared and reused.
Yes.
But this does it saves a lot of driving and hassle and stress, and it's really great to be able to kind of access it from any computer that's connected to the internet. So getting going from there, what kinds of devices can access the virtual library services?
Well, every service is a little bit different, and that can make it intimidating for a first-time user, or even some of us expert users. When we have a new service, it takes a lot to figure out, well, what does this work on?
I have to learn a new thing.
That's part of what I do, is figure out what things work on. But basically, your laptop or desktop should be able to access any of it. For portable reasons, your Apple or Android tablet or smartphone can access pretty much all of these. Kindle Fire can also access almost everything. We also have, for eBooks, on our Overdrive service, a lot of them can be switched over to your Kindle e-reader, but that's the only one that does. Then we have, with our streaming video, you can stream it through Roku, your Apple TV, Chromecast, AirPlay, the works. So you can just sit back on the couch instead of I don't want to say instead of driving to a theater, because I love the movie theaters here in this town. But if for whatever reason you don't feel like getting off the couch, you can watch a movie at home.
That's
So,
quite
yeah.
a few of us out there. They're like, I would like to go see something in the theater, but Austin traffic.
Yeah. How about you've already seen it in one of our wonderful Austin theaters? You just want to watch it again.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, actually, it's really easy. I personally have connected to the Roku for Canopy and other services, and I have found it pretty simple to set. I mean, it's just as simple to set up as any other kind of streaming service. So it's pretty cool.
I'm new at using the Roku, but now with my job, I have to try it out. Just the other night, I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure through Hoopla, which is one of our services that has a lot of content. And it's probably not something I would have checked out from the library. You know, I've got a hold queue of more in-demand stuff.
Yeah.
It might not even be something I'd pick up at a local video rental shop, but seeing it there available in the virtual library, I'm like, oh yeah, I love this movie. Of course I'm going to watch it. And it was a good way to test out that new service on a Roku. So, and I got to see a great movie I hadn't seen in like 20 years.
It holds up too, I think.
It did.
So if listeners that are just joining us, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. And today we're talking with librarian Amy Mullin, and we're talking about the virtual library. So we're just at the very end, but maybe start telling me a little bit about your job as a virtual librarian, like how you select things, and then we'll maybe have to cut you off and finish that conversation after the announcements.
Sure. Well, the selection, it's a bunch of different things. It's what is out there from other vendors, things that we don't have access to, or topics we don't cover enough that would be of interest to our Austin community. User-friendly interface is important as people are getting more sophisticated. And then there's always budget availability, what we can afford. So it's a balancing act trying to pick something good.
Right. So that you just kind of look at all that criteria and then find the best fit.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we can get a little deeper into that after this. Right now, besides celebrating Earth Day and Earth Month, we're also celebrating National Poetry Month. Hello, April. So we're going to hear poet Amy Mullin reading a poem about Paris. And I'm going to pronounce this wrong. The poem is titled De Pasmo. Or something along those lines. And this was recorded at the Oral Literature Program, which is a monthly series at the Terrazas branch, which features the Chicon Street poets. So let's roll that clip, y'all.
Oh, so this one's fun. So this came out of a quiz I gave my students, and I got it back, and there's a great typo in one of the answers. The answer was, he became infatuated with her. And I was like, wow, that's a great word, infatuated. So I had to work with that. And like, what did that new word mean? What could it mean? So infatuated. Yes, my oracle of love will be infatuation or will not be love. I want to know your shoe size as well as the weight it takes to walk in them sometimes and the joy that lifts them up. I even want to know the sound of your souls walking away when you need to be alone. Here's where I ask you to love me in my eyeglasses and $10 Goodwill dress as much as you would in my heels and little back dress. Because, darling, the sparkle and skin is the same. And I want to know about your worst New Year's Eve. And unless it also involves a breakup, mine was worse. And yes, I want to know that you can still light me up, my pulse, with a wink. I mean, we are alive. And I want to know your brain blips, your scars, from flesh to dreams and talk and sighs, while the dawn records our laughs and secrets. And I just want to be so maddeningly infatuated that the sun and moon and plants envy us, saying, look at how they orbit each other. I bet they stay like that forever. So I'm working on this project where I take true titles of true stories. The titles can be kind of fun or whatever, and then work with those. And I'm sometimes working in form too. I like to play with that. So this one, so this title is "That Time Ken and Barbie Called It Quits." So if you're in your 40s like me, you grew up with Ken and Barbie, and a while back that Mattel announced that they were breaking up, right? And that was a big thing. Yeah. So this is "That Time Ken and Barbie Called It Quits." When you broke up briefly after 43 years, the world gasped. Nothing was sacred. There lives a shard of pain in every pleasure. For decades, we had looked up to you, the maid for each other's. But what outsider really knows what brews beneath the skin? Is nothing sacred? Must there be a shard of pain in every pleasure? Is space between two in love then an eventual magnet? No outsider really knows what brews beneath the skin. So what was it that brought you back together? Is space between two in love then an eventual magnet? The paradoxical ingredient in love's ephemeral tonic? So what was it that brought you back together? No, don't tell me. Don't say the words aloud to curdle and spoil. Words. Those paradoxical ingredients in love's ephemeral tonic. We needed to live in a world where you two were merged. Don't tell me we didn't. We refused to let you curdle and spoil. Demanded your repair for us, your gleam of light to feast upon.
My name is Blair Parsons, and I'm a librarian at the Central Library. Each week I highlight a selection of programs for adults that are happening around the Austin Public Library. Our full list of programs may be found on the library's events calendar. The Central Library's Adulting 101 series continues with the next offering focusing on budgeting basics, Monday, April 30th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. This month, learn budgeting basics with guest speaker Betty Davis of Financial Fitness Greater Austin. Betty will help attendees figure out how to create a budget that works for them, from explaining the basics to leading attendees through hands-on activities that will make the concept of budgeting less abstract and easier to understand. Adulting 101 Budgeting Basics will be at the Central Library Monday, April 30th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Thursday afternoon, April 26th, the Carver Branch Library will host a workshop titled Learn to Use Google Calendar, and will focus on creative ways to increase efficiency and time management for individuals and teams. Learn to Use Google Calendar will be at the Carver Branch Library Thursday, April 26th from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Hey there, Austin. Teen Program Specialist Michael Harley from the Downtown Central Library here. Ever wanted to just dance? Patrons can bust out their best and silliest dance moves at the World Dance Day Just Dance Tournament, happening on International Dance Day, Sunday, April 29th at 12 p.m. in the Central Library's first floor Special Events Center. Sign up for a hilarious tournament and follow the on-screen dancer into a competition for dancers of all ages and skill levels. Dances will be up on the big screen for the audience to play along too. Prizes, glow-in-the-dark trinkets, and costumes will round out the Just Dance fun. More details on World Dance Day and additional programs can be found at library.austintexas.gov/events.
Hi, this is Monica Lozano, Youth Services Librarian at the Ruiz Branch. I get to tell you a little bit more about our children's programming this week. Bow Wow Reading. Certified Austin Dog Alliance volunteer teams with trained therapy dogs will be waiting for kids to read stories to them. This program improves children's reading and communication skills by employing a powerful method, reading to a dog. Open to children of all reading levels, suggested for ages 5 and up. Thursday, April 26th at 11:15 a.m. Bow Wow Reading with Daisy the Dog at the Ruiz Branch. Saturday, April 28th at 11:30 a.m. Bow Wow Reading with Bonnie the Dog at the Yarborough Branch. Wednesday, May 2nd at 3:30 p.m., Bow Wow Reading with Aussie at the North Village branch. Wednesday, May 2nd at 4:30, Bow Wow Reading with Brew the Dog at the Little Walnut Creek branch. Express yourself. Latinitas in the Ruiz branch of the Austin Public Library welcome the whole family to participate in 8 weeks of free workshops to explore media and technology to express yourself. Create original projects, voice your opinions, and connect with your identity and the issues in your community. Recommended for ages 8 and up. Saturday, April 28th at 1 p.m. The theme will be activism at the Ruiz branch. This is the last installment of the Express Yourself workshops. For more information, go to library.austintexas.gov.
Support for Co-op comes from Austin Community College, offering hundreds of summer classes that transfer to UT, Texas State, and other four-year universities. To learn more about earning college credits this summer, go to austincc.edu/summer.
The Texas Talking Book Program provides digital audio, large print, and braille books and magazines to Texans who cannot read standard print due to qualifying visual, physical, or reading disabilities. Reader advisors are on hand to help navigate patrons through thousands of titles available for download to our free digital audio player. To see if you qualify or for more information, visit www.texastalkingbooks.org.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. Radio for people, not for profit.
Hey, welcome back. So before the announcements, we heard poet Amy Mullin reading a poem about Paris titled Dépassement. That was recorded at the Oral Literature Program in conjunction with the Chacon Street Poets. Oral Literature takes place at the Terrazas branch of the library on the last Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. So it's actually tonight at 7:30 p.m. Happy National Poetry Month, people. Woohoo! Yay! And Earth Day was this past Sunday, but, you know, every day's really Earth Day. So we're, in fact, intrinsically connected to the planet. So renowned biologist Edward O. Wilson coined the concept of biophilia, which refers to an instinctive bond between humans and nature, an innate affiliation with all living things, including, you know, the planet that we live on. According to a recent Terrapin Bright Green publication, biophilia helps explain why crackling fires and crashing waves captivate us, why a view to nature can enhance our creativity, why shadows and heights instill fascination and fear, why gardening and strolling through a park have restorative healing effects. Biophilic elements have a demonstrably real, measurable benefit for human performance metrics such as productivity, emotional well-being, stress, learning, and creativity. Implementing biophilic design into our workplaces, healthcare facilities, schools, and neighborhoods has profound health and economic benefits. So that was just a little tidbit. Now we're going to get right back into our conversation with librarian Amy Mullin. Hi.
Hello.
And we're talking about the virtual library because it's also very, very green and
Yes.
tied into Earth Day.
Super green.
So basically, we kind of defined it earlier, but the virtual library is a collection of electronic resources that the public can access using their Austin Public Library card. So can you tell me a little bit more about, did you finish telling me about all the way that you select things?
Pretty much, because that's the general overview. We do take suggestions from the public. We take suggestions from the public for all library materials. The problem is with an online resource, it's different from a book, which you can purchase for the library, process, put on the shelf, and check out. An online resource, we have to make sure it works with our authentications, our tech systems. There are contracts involved, and honestly, it's just a bigger dollar amount. So even if we get a great suggestion, we might not be able to implement it or purchase it right away, or sometimes even for several years. But we do appreciate those suggestions.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's getting into any more nitty gritty. I'd put everyone to sleep, and if they're driving, that would not be very sustainable. So,
well, thank you for sharing that. It is interesting to me to like understand, how these choices are made, and that there's nothing willy nilly about it. There's a procedure, and you really have to look at every little nuance.
It's also like a long-term strategy. Like next year I might look at a certain thing, but it's just not on the radar for this year. So yeah, it's long-term strategy and short-term budgetary issues and things like that.
Okay, well that makes sense. I thank you for helping me type that loose end. I also wanted to move into like what, a little bit more in depth about why the virtual library is a sustainable choice.
Well, for one, it does keep physical media out of the landfill. It's great, just the whole concept of a public library. We can buy one book or one DVD or one CD or a magazine subscription, and that can go through hundreds of different hands. It can fulfill the information or leisure needs of dozens of people. So that in itself is green. But think about those bestsellers where there might be 200 holds on it. And then next year, no one's reading it anymore. Everyone's read it, but next year we've got 200 copies of a book that no one's checking out.
Mindy calls it like the Da Vinci Code syndrome. Like,
yes, that's exactly what it is. That's a perfect example. Everyone has had a copy of the Da Vinci Code at one point, and then it all winds up either in a thrift store or in a landfill, but by then everyone's already read it. Right. So with eBooks and audiobooks, we can still fill all of those holds. Everyone can read that hot bestseller that year, but then we don't have to send all of those hundreds of books, say, to Recycled Reads or thrift stores or a landfill. So that also DVDs and CDs get scratched very easily. So having streaming music and streaming film is wonderful for that. If you've ever checked out, say, the Criterion Collection, which is an expensive, art movie or cult film, and then there's a huge scratch down the middle and you can't finish it, well, then you can stream it. And it in some ways, it does save money because it lasts longer. A lot of information needs are short-lived. Right now, if your kids are studying for the SAT or ACT, or if you're studying for some sort of vocational exam, you'll just need that test prep guide that one time. You don't need it for 10 years. So you can use one of our resources to take that test prep exams and sample exams, and you've just saved about 300 pages of tree right there. Yay. By using one of our resources. Or a lot of reference books. If you just need to know how to mulch that garden and you find that out in one of our databases, you don't need a whole book on it once you know how to do it.
Right.
And also, do you really need to own every book you read? I have a lot of books I've read, and some I've moved around a bunch, and you realize quickly, wow, I read that book, I liked it, but if it's in an American public library, it's not on my shelves at home anymore.
The older I get, I'm like, I cannot keep all this stuff. I don't need it.
You don't need it. If you know that you can find it in a library, go there. And if you can get it on your phone, even better. That way you check it out when you need it. You can travel with it. That's another thing for travel. If you're on a road trip, if you're traveling by plane, if you're packing a lot of travel guides or you're leisure reading, that's going to use up a lot of gas.
Yeah.
Just having it on your device, that saves gas. And if everyone did that, say travel, flights might be cheaper. So people would be packing more lightly. And also, I love it for public transportation. Yes. I take the bus here in Austin, and when it gets packed, and if I have to stand up, it's kind of tough to read a print book. But an ebook or an audiobook on my device is easy. I can do that standing up, hands-free. If you're one of those poor, Austinites who has a long commute, download an audiobook to your phone and you're entertained when you're not listening to KOP, of course.
Absolutely.
So there are just so many different ways that the virtual library can be green. That it's easier. I don't know if it's easier to produce an ebook, but there are just lots of different ways you can look at it being a very sustainable way to get information, entertainment, whatever you might need.
Yeah. No, that you make such a great case. I couldn't agree more. It feels good also to share. I mean, to be a part of a community of sharing and, know that the resources that you need are right there at your fingertips on the library's website. It's so cool. So what if I am looking to read up on some green topics for Earth Day? Mm-hmm. What would I look for on the library's website?
Well, I'm not sure. Everyone's different, so I'm not sure exactly what you would look for. I'll talk about when I was getting ready for this conversation, what I started looking for. I live in an apartment, so I don't have access to, say, a backyard garden. I can't compost. I'm super lazy. When I'm not at work, I am just the laziest person. So I found some guides like The Lazy Environmentalist. There's another book, All You Need Is Less. Another one called Just Enough. See, rather than recycling, I'd rather just not go shopping. That's the lazy way. Of course, there's a Green Living for Dummies. So if you're not sure, if you know you want to start living more sustainably but don't know where to start, there's another one, Easy Green Living. But depending on what other topics you might want, if you search for Living Green, you'll find a ton of stuff. But you can also search for things like solar energy or alternative energy or just recycling, sustainability, voluntary simplicity. That's one of my favorites. And then just environment. And that will have anything. If you're a layperson, you'll have a lot of stuff about how to live a more environmentally conscious lifestyle. Or if you're more of a science person, then you'll get the science behind it. So we've got a whole range. We've also got things like cookbooks and healthy living and energy conservation and gardening and how to live and work and play in a healthy environment, green businesses, and that's a big effort here in Austin right now. So it's a huge umbrella term. So it's just like pick one thing and then just start finding out what they have. But we have a whole range of different topics.
Awesome. So if I wanted to get started on any of this, I would just go. I would go to the library's website, library.austintexas.gov/virtual, and on the left I'll see all the different types of options that there are for the virtual library and some examples. Is that correct?
Well, here's where it gets tricky to not be able to show it off. Here's where radio gets tricky. If you were, say, looking for an ebook or an audiobook or an e-magazine, like something concrete like that, I'd started our catalog, which you can find, which is found on the library website. Just click catalog and do some keyword searches. If you're looking for more like the do-it-yourself stuff I spoke about earlier, then if you go to the virtual library, we have a whole do-it-yourself section. And that's clearly listed. They have names like Home Improvement Reference Center. So if you want to fix your home instead of tearing it down and rebuilding it, then you would go there. So it really depends. But here's where I'll give a plug to our reference librarians, our Ask a Librarian service. If you don't know where to start with a virtual library, ask them.
They can help.
They can help get you started. Yes.
Thank you so much. There's so much more I wanted to ask you about. Unfortunately, we're just running out of time. So sorry. I guess that means I'll just have to have you come back and talk more about this.
Next April. Well, thanks for having me on again. It's really great to spread the word about the sustainability of the virtual library. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for all the tips. I learned a lot. So there's information about the virtual library and about library resources in general. It's all at library.austintexas.gov. Thanks a lot, Amy, for coming.
Thank you, Kanya. It was great. And happy Earth Day, everyone.
Yay, happy Earth Day. Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Special thanks to our producer, DJ Harris, and to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and Mike Wheat on percussion. And thanks to you, our listeners. Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesday afternoons at 2:30 on Co-op 91.7 FM and koop.org. If you catch us mid-show, full episodes and other details can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.